Good morning. Today is Tuesday, December 8th, and this is the Morning Breach with Scott Davis. Baltimore is back in the news. Now with a ransomware cyber attack on the Greater Baltimore Medical Center computer systems. Confirming the attack on Sunday, the medical center stated they have robust processes in place to maintain safe and effective patient care. The Greater Baltimore Medical Center now joins Baltimore County Schools just weeks ago and Baltimore City itself back in 2019 to be themselves victims of ransomware. As of now, the investigation is still in the early stages and no evidence yet of any patient information being breached. The medical center has not yet released the ransomware strain or group that is behind the attack. The electronics giant Foxconn's Mexico facility, the aerospace company Embraer, the human resources conducting firm Randstad, Swiss helicopter maker Kopter, the city of Independence, Missouri, the twin cities of Texarkana, which crosses the Texas and Arkansas border, have all reported new ransomware attacks over the last few days. In addition, Snyder City in Texas has actually closed their city hall after its second ransomware attack this year. In a lot of these, the statements and press releases outline, the phrase that these attacks are getting a lot more common. And while that's true, as more and more organizations are, being victims, but what's happening is more of the organizations are actually reporting these attacks as the likelihood of a data breach with ransomware is reaching new highs. What is also true is new breach notification laws are a leading driver in forcing these organizations to report these breaches. I believe these attacks have been common for years. It's merely the fact that they are finally being reported is what is growing more common and not the attack itself. Let's pause for a minute on ransomware attacks. So how can you know if you're safe from an attack? I'd like you to ask yourself these 5 questions. And if you can answer yes to each of these, I would say you should be able to sleep soundly at night. First, do all of your employees go through annual cybersecurity awareness training? And that may include also quarterly refreshers. Are all of your devices, systems, and software updated to the most recent versions? This should include your firewall, your network equipment, switches, other devices. It should include the system hardware itself, like BIOS. It should include the operating system updates. And then obviously the software on top of that. Have you conducted a pen test within the last 12 months? Pen tests are critical in identifying where your weaknesses are in your environment. So if you're not conducting regular pen tests, then you really don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You should also make sure that that pen test is done with a third party, just because you don't want the same person that's being paid to protect you to be the same one to run the audit to tell you how good or bad of a job they're doing. Do you have documented policies that cover data classification, data handling, breach notifications, acceptable use, and business continuity? At the end of the day, you can talk a good game of, yes, we're ready, we're prepared, we're ready, but if you don't have it documented, when the situation comes up, you're probably not as ready as you think you are. And finally, are you monitoring for changes of system configurations and settings? Change monitoring is a critical aspect of cybersecurity. It really allows you to analyze and know when systems change, what has changed, and why they changed. Those basic 5 questions should all be a yes. And they should all be a yes and already part of your organization's overall cybersecurity policy. If they're not, it's a great starting point. And if you're looking for a third party in your area to help you secure your data, message us in the post in the comment or in the post or the comments, or please message us directly and we'll do our best to help you connect with one locally. So we've covered some of the basics, but wait, ransomware innovation is already moving forward and it has no bounds. Some ransomware gangs have actually been reportedly taking to cold calling their victims and informing them that their systems have been compromised and actually request the ransom payment over the phone. So over the last few months, we have seen ransomware begin to print the ransom demand on every discovered printer, sharing the names and sample data collected from the breach online, and now phone calls. This is all in the goal to increase the psychological pressure to force the victim to pay the ransom. What I see as a scary trend is that businesses are relying on their cybersecurity insurance policy to be there to pay their, in essence, get out of jail free payout. What is known is these policies are still very new and it may not cover what you think it should. As with really any insurance policy, you need to understand the policy and what it is and what's covered and what's not covered. On the flip side, cybersecurity insurance adjusters need to ensure they are properly evaluating organizations for risk. More and more of them are basing these standards off of NIST guidelines to help determine what the risk level is. And that's a good direction for them to keep moving forward with. Experian's 8th annual data breach industry forecast has come out, and it predicts that the top 5 targets for hackers in 2021 will be COVID-19 vaccine rollout. I think that's a no-brainer simply because of how successful the COVID-19 has been successful in 2020. A continued attack on home networks. Again, as more and more people are working from home, there's more and more infrastructure and vulnerabilities that a cyber criminal could hijack that home network to get into a corporate network. Look for hackers to target contact tracing efforts. It could be manipulating and creating a fake app. It could be actually breaching the database itself of contact tracing. A lot of news around 5G networks has people questioning both sides. As it's new technology, people are curious, so keep an eye out, especially for phishing type emails targeting, hey, new 5G networks and devices or something like that. And I think the last one's pretty obvious as well, but personal healthcare data is absolutely going to be a target. I think personal information as a whole, it could be healthcare, it could be your credit cards, it could be whatever, is always a risk, and it should always be something that we take extreme care of to make sure we're protecting. You can find the link for the full report at themorningbreach.com. And to end today's episode, Flight Center has confirmed that a significant data breach that occurred back in 2017 was the result of sensitive data being left in a database that was given to hackathon participants. That's right. Flight Center knowingly gave away the database that contained 106 million rows of data, which contained data of 6.1 million individual customer records. Hackathon participants were able to access over 4,000 credit cards, 5,000 passports, and it was all stored in free text fields. So this is why it's critical for you to know your data, what it is, where it is, how it's secured, and who has access to it. So that's today's episode of The Morning Breach. Please join us this Thursday for another episode. If you've learned something new by watching this, please take a second and like and share the video. If you want to see more episodes of The Morning Breach or find useful resources in helping you secure your organization, please visit themorningbreach.com and follow along with us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thanks for watching.